and will be live streamed again on eNCA.com. Let's just try and make some sense, get analysis and the views of legal expert Elton Hart, who's always very gracious with his time. Elton, morning to you. We're going to talk about this dreadlocks and the comment about the witness not being a hair specialist or a hair expert, I think is what they said in court. We'll get there in a moment. But once again, here we are, you and I talking about what is on the accused's cell phone. How do you think this is going to be interpreted by the defence as well? Because we heard this last week with Lambertus Stain. We're unable to prove if anything on the phone was actually done by one of the accused. It's going to get messy again, isn't it?
No, indeed, Garrett, it's going to get messy in the sense that, yes, you can see that there is links between the numbers and the numbers that was sort of half assigned to various people, like accused number 5, 1, 3, and Kelly Kumalo. As I said on a previous conversation between you and me, is that it will boil down to the content. What was the communications between the parties? What was said? And we know that Kelly Kumalo is an actress, dancer, performer. So she might have a defense in the fact that she would say, these people phoned me for gigs to come and perform, those type of things. And what I also pick up from the defense is that they tried to show Colonel Steyn and Sergeant Mabasa is not qualified to actually retrieve information from these devices and actually analyze it and put it in document form and as evidence before court. That's what they're trying to actually illustrate to court, because you could see they were going back to the qualifications. Where did they train? Is it accredited with CETA? Those type of things. So that's where they're trying to poke holes to say that maybe the retrieval, preservation and analyzing of the data was not done in line with the evidentiary rules that's applicable in South Africa.
I suppose it's also very difficult, I imagine, Elton, to try and draw a conclusion. If someone has a photo of stacks of money on their cell phone, the court would need to prove that this particular accused took that photo using their phone. They know what that photo was about and link it back to them and how it related to this case as well. It could have been a pile of money from anywhere. They have to try and make that connection, don't they? How legally difficult is that to do?
No, it's going to be difficult. As I said, the state will have an uphill battle to show, yeah, you've got circumstantial evidence that might suggest that you are involved in alleged commissions of crime. It's not proven yet. You still need to create that link to say that this money was obtained from an illegal source, and that illegal source is connected to what happened on 26 October 2014. So the state still needs, and we have heard Brigadier Ganinda also needs to somehow come and bring evidence, because there is another chain of the evidence, how it was handled, analyzed, that is in possession or that only Brigadier Ganinda can testify about. So that will still, and then we'll see the cross-examination. But I can already see that the defense is trying to poke holes into saying genuineness, authenticity and originality of the information retrieved is in dispute. What I don't see is that people don't make a big fuss about the metadata, because metadata will also tell you as to how information was retrieved, sent to a different device, so you can also trace that. And if the state is now really into it, they also need to put the metadata of the information that was retrieved from these phones and put it there. But you just need somebody that has the expertise of how to make sure that the metadata is not altered when it's retrieved and actually processed at any given stage.
I forgot about the metadata. Quite right. That could also come into this. It's all the data about when a photo was taken as well. Possibly, if it's a fancy enough phone, could even be the location. If you had the location settings on. You're right. The metadata. Quite right. Why is the dreadlocks becoming such a talking point? Because if I remember correctly, and this is why I'm talking to you, Elton, to correct me along my path here, is Zandi Kumalo mentioned one of the assailants on the night had dreadlocks. So is this where the dreadlocks issue is coming in? Because one of the defense spending quite a lot of time questioning the witness about not being a hair specialist. Just help me understand what they're trying to figure out there. What are they trying to do?
Garrett, you'll remember at the beginning when Zandi Kumalo was testifying, they were also attacking that identity is in dispute, because some of the witnesses like Ntabi Singh, Makete, and I think Ngashe, that could say that they could see intruders running or people running. But some said they could see from an angle, but they couldn't see the faces. Some said they could see from the back, but they could see some dreadlocks sticking out. So, and Zandile Kumalo then also added on top of that to say one of the assailants was a person with dreadlocks. Now here, when Sergeant Mabasa is testifying about the dreadlocks, is to say that, okay, it makes sense now with what the other witnesses were saying. And hence, because the defense did a good enough job to put doubt in the court's mind to say that, yes, you can say dreadlocks, but it's not out and out that you can identify the person. So many South Africans do have dreadlocks. And hence they were now going on and making a big fuss about dreadlocks. But I mean, for the court to take judicial notice, any South African, if I say the person had dreadlocks, we somehow have a picture of what dreadlocks is. So for them to now question Sergeant Mabaso, I think it did not make to say he's a hair specialist. You and me are not hair specialists, but if I say, Garrett, that guy had dreadlocks, and it was like maybe a short hanging just half his face, you would have an idea of what dreadlocks look like. So for me, them going after Mabasa for that, I think it was not helping them at all. It was actually they placing their accused three to say it is him actually in that photos.
Yeah, it wasn't a flat-out denial that it was him. It was simply a case of how do you know as a witness what dreadlocks are. But I think you're right. I think most reasonable people can understand what a dreadlock and what dreadlocks look like in the country as well. Just as I start saying goodbye to you, Elton, I'm starting to get a sense, and give me your guidance on this, that we're going to get the question over and over again of the authenticity and the ability of cell phone experts to provide anything tangible in a court case. But you can't get the cell phone calls, you can't get the actual messages, the data can get scrubbed. You mentioned the metadata earlier, because what it looks like when they first came out, Lamberta Stain came out with, people were calling it those bombshells, they were very, very quickly shot down by the defense. In your experience in law, how often is cell phone data the turning point in a court case in our country?
It happened a lot, and it happens recently, but the only thing that I want the state to actually also focus on is that cell phone triangulation. Because with cell phone triangulation, even if you stand on you can sort of half narrow it down so that the circumstantial evidence gets a little bit more heavier, and it will weigh a little bit more heavier. And the mere fact that the defense already considered that they will not call another expert to come and sort of half say, but this is not the only explanation that you can draw from the information that was retrieved, analyzed, and processed by Colonel Steyn and Sergeant Mabasa. If they don't bring somebody that can actually now really cast doubt and aspersion on what was said by these two witnesses, then the court might lean towards it. And cell phone data, it's used. There's a case of State versus Brown, and it was even, the data was even, or whatever was used in that case was not even as strong as what Colonel Steyn and Sergeant Mabasa was saying, and the court used that evidence. So it happens a lot that it's the turning point where a conviction is based on.
Elton Hart, good to have you with us. I always appreciate you making some time for me in the mornings just to help us all understand what actually is trying to take place in court as well. We'll go back to you again a little bit later, Elton. Thank you.